Let's look at adding positive and negative integers. It might help us to remember that integers are the set of positive whole numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Their opposites, -1, -2, -3, -4, etc., and 0. So these numbers, 3, 8, 23, are all positive integers. These are all positive integers. Sometimes they'll write that it's a positive 3 or a positive 8. We can also see these within an addition problem. So we'd have something like 3 plus 8, where those are the addends. And of course, when we add together two positive numbers, you do end up with another positive number. 3 plus 8 is 11. So what I'm saying here is that when you add a positive number in with another positive number, you get a positive number. So I'm going to use a different color here. So again, when you add a positive number with a positive number, your number becomes even more positive. So if we think about that number line, we're adding 8 to 3. So we're starting at 3. We're adding 8 more. We're adding 8 more. Adding 8 more, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So again, when you add a positive to a positive, your number is positive. You just add that 3 and that 8 together. What happens when you add negatives together? When you add negatives together, let's take a look at adding -6 and -2 together. And then so what I just said is that we're adding -6 plus -2. Now, if we're adding -6 plus -2, your answer is going to end up being negative. And then so what I'm saying there is a negative plus a negative does give you a negative number. So the number actually becomes even more negative. And then so all you do is you take the 6, take the 2, you add those two together, and you make sure to place that negative sign. So I place the negative sign. -6 plus -2 is -8. So again, a negative plus a negative gives you a negative number. Thinking about this, we have -6 here on our number line. If we add -2 to it, we move to the left on the number line, we get to -8. So it becomes even more negative. So reviewing, 4 plus 6 equals 10, right? So we just add the 4 with the 6. We've seen this before, probably early elementary school. We have -3 plus -8. Our answer is going to be negative for sure, so we have to place that sign. And then we just take the 3, the 8, we add those to get 2 together to get 11. So -3 plus -8 is -11. Alright, it's time for you to try. Please go ahead and copy down these number sentences and complete the number sentences. Be very careful to place those negative signs where they're supposed to be placed. Pause that video. Okay, for that first one, hopefully you got 9 for that. -5 plus -9, we just take the 5 and the 9, add those together to get 14, and we're sure to place that negative sign there. -2 plus -4 equals -6. Let's take a look at some other types of problems you might see. The two other types of problems you might see is a negative number plus a positive number. Or you might see the reverse, where it is that you have a positive number plus a negative number. Now, one reason I put a question mark here is because sometimes when you are adding a negative with a positive, you'll get a negative number, and sometimes you'll get a positive number. And I'm going to show you as to how it is that we know whether it's going to be a negative or a positive. And in the other direction, if you have a positive number plus a negative number, again, you might get a positive number and you might get a negative number as well. Now, the only way we know as to whether or not we have a positive number or a negative number is if we actually put in numbers there and place in numbers there. So, for instance, if we had negative 3 plus negative 2, plus 2, then we can go ahead. We have one negative and one positive as the type of question that we are looking at. Negative 3 plus 2 is going to give us negative 1. The reason behind that is as follows. What we do is we actually take a look at each of these numbers and the value. So this value here is 3. So we're adding a negative 3 to 2. And since 3 is bigger than 2, 3 is bigger than 2, that's why we end up with the negative sign there. Because the negative number right here and that value right there is bigger than that 2 there. Now if we looked at the number line to just show you this, here's negative 3, and if we add 2 to that, we would go in this direction to negative 2 and then to negative 1, end up at negative 1. Negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1. Let's look at some more. Okay, looking at this one right here, negative 5 plus 8. Now we look at this and we think whether or not our answer is going to be positive or negative to begin with. And so we're comparing 5 here with 8. And since 8 is bigger than 5, we know that this is going to end up being a positive number. Now, it's going to be a positive number. Now, what positive number is it going to end up being, though? Okay, so it's going to be a positive number. The way we figure that out is we just take the 8 here, and we subtract the 5. So 8 minus 5 is 3. And so that is our answer. Negative 5 plus 8 is 3. Now, for our next problem here, we look at this 4, and we compare it with the 9. Since 9 is bigger than 4, then our answer is going to be negative. We've got a negative answer here. And then all we do is we take 9, 4, we subtract them, take the bigger one minus the smaller one, 9 minus 4, which is 5. And then so 4 plus negative 9 is negative 5. For this final one here, looking at it, is our answer going to be positive or negative? Our answer is going to be negative. Why? Because 8 was bigger than 3. Now what do we do with those two numbers? We subtract them. Take the bigger one, 8 minus 3, and you get what? 5. Negative 8 plus 3 is negative 5. Thinking about that, negative 8 plus 3, negative 7, negative 6, negative 5. It's time for you to try. Please go ahead and copy these down and complete those number sentences. Go ahead and hit pause and solve them. For that first problem, our answer is going to be negative because 9 was bigger than 5, and 9 minus 5 is 4. So our answer is negative 4. For that next problem, we have that problem right there where it says negative 6 plus 8. Did you get 2 as your answer? And finally, for that last problem, 3 plus negative 5. Again, 5 was bigger than 3. That's why our answer is negative. And then we just go 5 minus 3, which is 2. So 3 plus negative 5 is negative 2. All right, so let's go ahead and review. So a positive plus a positive gives you an even more positive number. So for instance, 3 plus 7, we just take the 7 and the 3, add them together to get 10, and our answer is still positive. When we add a negative number with a negative number, like negative 6 plus negative 3, again, our answer is going to be negative, as it shows right there. And all we do again is we take the 6, add it together with the 3 to get negative 9. Now, with those other types of problems, it depends. It depends. And then so it depends on what numbers that we see there. It depends on what numbers that we see there. Now, so if we had 3 here plus negative 7, in this case, 3 plus negative 7, we look at the 7, we look at the 3, and since the 7 is bigger than the 3, then, since this was a negative number, that was a negative 7, then our answer is negative. And then at that point, we subtract. We say 7 minus 3, which is 4. Here's another example, negative 9 plus 6. And again, now we're comparing what and what? We're comparing 9 and 6. 9 is bigger than 6, so our answer again is going to be negative. And then so negative 9 plus 6 is negative 3. We took 9 minus 6. Let me give you one last example. 9 plus negative 4. 9 plus negative 4, the 9 is bigger than the 4, so our answer is going to be positive, and then we just go 9 minus 4, which is 5. And that's our answer. So now you know how to add positive and negative integers. So when you're faced with, they're both the same, plus plus or minus minus, you just add. You add, right? So we're adding like that and that. And when you're faced with the other one here and the other type where they are different, you subtract 7 minus 3. And then that answer takes on whatever it is that was bigger.